before we call this meeting, Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Beecham, who is telephoned in to us, to give the invocation.
Judge, I did ask Mr. Hampton if he's available to do that.
He's always available.
He's available.
Mr. Hampton, please, sir.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer. Sometimes prayer like this is kind of like the national anthem played before a football game. We're so used to it that we don't even pay attention. And we just examine the shine on our shoes and see if it's glossy enough. But Lord, we do come to you with grateful hearts today. We're so proud to be Americans. Thank you for this country. Help us always to remember the great history that we have. Our forefathers were men of integrity, and although they were not perfect, and of course they never claimed to be, but they always put their country first above all things else. Yesterday we celebrated the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King. He was a man that loved his country and was very clear in saying that he hoped at some point in time that his kids would be accepted on the merit of their value and their talent rather than the color of their skin. So we're reminded of that. We're also reminded of another gentleman who was born today, 214 years ago, General Robert E. Lee. He was a man of integrity, loved his country. But when his state chose a different way, he reluctantly chose that way. And so we are reminded that you gave us this book to read, and it's a book of loyalty and faith and hope. But mostly it's a book of loyalty, Lord. Loyal to you and loyal to our fellow man, no matter the size or shape, color of skin, color of hair, or even no hair. So we come to you this morning. We're asking for your help in this nation. We know these men in this room, and we know them. They love this state, they love this county, and so they're very clear about your leadership in their lives. But we pray for our country, Lord. And we're told that if we don't believe in a certain way, that we've been reminded this morning on national television that we need to be reprogrammed. And so we come to you with anxiousness that why our loyalty is being questioned. And so we love this country, we love this flag. The men that we served in uniform, those men we served with that are no longer with us. This flag means something. It means that it's a representative. Just like the cross to Christians, this flag is a representative of this great nation. Not made up of people of perfection, but people who love their country, love their fellow man, and love to prosper this country in the ways that you would have us to be led. So we come to you gratefully, with expectant hearts. Help us to be the people of positive change. All this we're careful to give you all the thanks and the praise. It's in your most precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Bob, thank you very much for that. You said a lot there, and I know where you came from. That's great. Y'all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge, please.
I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take a seat, please. Well, before we start on the rest of the agenda, I want to take a moment and ask our county clerk to come forward and just to recognize her. This is for their work in vital statistics, but I'm gonna tell you the most vital statistic you did this year was running 5 elections and getting your results out in a timely manner and going through all that. But this came from the state, and Lori, it's just indicative of your and your office and your professionalism and your all's commitment. And unfortunately, that spreads out. We see other of our offices achieve recognition from office. But thank you very much for your service to us.
Thank you. I think this is the first time I know of that we've ever won this award under me. So,
Well, that's been a long.
Pretty
it's
impressive.
been a long time, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
Okay, at this time, I would ask if there's any public comment to be made by anyone. Next, I ask the court to take action on the consent agenda to either ask for clarification or bring down any item for general business action.
You need a motion, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Motion moved to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second, Judge.
Any question or discussion on any of the items by member of the court or anyone in the audience? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay. Item number 1 is discuss, consider, take action on IRCC number 168, the shower pan changes, area F, for $234,984, and to authorize the county judge to sign that change. Also, Commissioner Beecham is on the phone. He will probably have some comments on that, and we will go ahead and pull down the very last item on general business, which is an update on law enforcement center, where we have the architect and engineer and the contractor here. So, Commissioner, you want to go ahead and lead off?
Yes, Judge, this is the issue that we have been discussing for a couple of months now, when staff made their initial walk through the solitary area and medical areas. It was noted that the showers within the individual cells were not constructed in a manner in which we agreed with. They have an 8-inch step up into the shower stall itself, which presents football hazard. It was noted by our staff that that was one of the things that they had highlighted early on in the design process when we did our initial walk in our facilities and other facilities, that we did not want a step up in the shower area. We wanted to flush. As the project moved into value engineering, I believe this is where this came into play. We have additional floor drains within each of those cells that we value engineer out, thinking that the floor drain would not be necessary since the floors, we should be able to drain into a drain and shower fluid area. Now we have neither a floor drain nor, plus we have a shower pan that's 8 inches above the floor drain. We immediately asked for a resolve on this. We've been about 11 weeks now waiting on this resolve. With that, I believe we have our architect and our builders both there to explain how we ended up here. And without being in the room, I don't know who all's there. So I guess I'll ask, I know Linda's probably there, I'll let her start off and we'll go from there.
Yes, Mark, I am here, and I've got Kurt Perdue with me from HOK, and I've got Michael Perry from Yates and Steve Parker from Yates with me. So the four of us are here. The process is much like what Mark just described, in the fact that, unfortunately, the part that no one realized is what my previous business partner, Ralph Perkins, was part of the original walkthroughs, and people with the jail were part of the original walkthroughs, and nobody now that is actually in the process with the job was part of those original walkthroughs. And so those of us that are players now did not know about those previous arrangements. But you want to, we can describe, Kurt can describe what is the normal procedure with jails and what's been done and what's accepted by the jail commission.
Sure, thank you, Glenda. This is Kurt Party with HOK. I apologize, I don't believe I was part of any conversations during the design phase where the county told us that they wanted those showers in the segregation cells and in the infirmary cells to be at finished floor level. And so we designed the showers to be standard, as we always do, in a seg cell and an infirmary cell, where it is a cabinet shower that's installed in those single cells that have a single bed. They do have the 8-inch rise to get into the shower, as Commissioner said. It's the way that we have done it across Texas and across the country for a long, long time. And it's just a standard seg unit shower that we install. The reason we've done that way is, like I said, that's the way we typically do it. And I understand that the Sheriff's Department wants it a different way now, but we didn't know that, or I didn't know that when we designed it. I've done a lot of jails in the state of Texas, and I've always done them the way that we have done it here. And I understand also the concern with taking the floor drain out of the cells. The reason we did that during the VE process was to save money, to bring the project back to within budget so that we could start construction. The Texas Commission on Jail Standards allows us to put water control devices on the combi units. Those are the toilet and sink unit inside of single cells or any cell. But that water control device stops water from flowing if someone tries to plug that toilet so that it doesn't flood the cell. So knowing that, this was one of the VE items we took and decided to take those floor drains out. And that's how, that's the reason that floor drain has also been taken out of those cells. That's the design, and that's kind of how we've arrived at where we've gone. The proposal to change those is to take the floor out of the 8-inch raised floor out of the shower, and then cut out concrete underneath that shower, and then re-pour the concrete back after a floor drain is mounted at the floor level. Once that is done, then a epoxy paint system will be installed in the shower and up the shower walls to make it waterproof. And then that would help the Sheriff's Department, should they want to clean the cell out, to be able to, to sweep or mop, any debris that might be in there into that floor drain so that it can drain. And I think that solution that we've done takes care of the issues that they're concerned about. And so that's where we are.
Kurt, when you say you all have done these, and that's one of the reasons you all were selected, you're very experienced in dealing with jails in Texas. I can't think of any place that you had showers that don't, that there's not a door that closes there, that there's not some sort of drain outside because the water comes past the curtain, the water comes out when the person gets out to dry off. I do not see how that value engineering was smart engineering.
It is, it's the standard way that things are done now. I mean, I went back after this is, you know, in talking about this and trying to make sure that we have multiple projects that we recently completed that have no floor drain in the cell. They have the floor drain that's in the shower, it's the raised floor drain, and again, the reason the jail commission allows that is because they know that it's expensive to build jails. And, you know, no one wants to spend any more money on a jail than they have to. So when given, you know, when asked, you know, can we take this out? Can we do this a different way? Can we, you know, we're preventing the flooding from the toilet. You know, do we need to do both? And so they always say, well, it's less expensive to put the overflow device on the toilet than it is to put a floor drain in the floor. And so that's the route that we take. And it's become standard. I went back and looked at other facilities that have been recently completed by other companies, and they are doing the same thing. So it's what we're seeing. It's what's done there.
So what kind of surface is there outside of that shower stall? When people get out and dry off and all, I don't think they stand inside.
There's a 3 foot by approximately 3 by 3 epoxy gridded floor finish on the outside of the shower. So when people are standing there, they don't slip and fall. And that is required by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. And that's something that they kind of recently started doing, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 years ago. But that's to prevent people from slipping outside the shower should it get wet. And that's what's there. The rest of the cell is sealed concrete.
I have a question. The shower has a floor drain in it, correct? Up on an 8-inch pedestal.
Yes.
I mean, I went and looked at it. There's a floor drain there. If that cell would have been built with no pedestal built up, just concrete level with everything else and the floor drain in it, you would not have to have a water mechanism on the toilet. You'd still have a floor drain in the floor that's flush with the whole floor. So I don't understand really the logic saying that it's cheaper to build your platform up, put a floor drain in it, and put a deal on the toilet. If your floor drain would have been built level to start with, it would have solved all the purposes. And you're saying that you were on the original walkthroughs that went through the jail?
I was, yes.
Is anybody else in the room right now in the original walkthroughs? Nobody was? Did we ever go back and talk to any of those people?
We talked to Matt, I believe Derek was on the, I did not talk to Derek, and we did not talk to Ralph, he was there, but Matt had said he remembered that, I think Lisa, was he there? Were you there? Okay, no?
Yeah, I think so.
And they talked, when they were upstairs, they said they did not want to step up.
Right. And I do a lot of construction work. The first thing I noticed when I walked into the jail, I was like, why in the world would they ever build that? To me, building the platform costs more money than it would have been to build the floor level to start with a floor drain. The only reason I can see that it benefits you as a contractor, if you ordered those units in there as a cube and you already had your drain built into that cube, then you could save money on your end of it by keeping that drain in a cube. At no way can I ever see that it would benefit the county to have it built like that, because you're still going to have a floor drain in there somewhere. So if you would have done the whole drain in the floor, it would have been cheaper all the way around. When we first brought this, they brought it to our attention that we were going to end up having to pay for this. My personal belief is that this is a architect, design, contractor failure, not just the county. Because there were county people that expressed concerns about it. And it was supposed to cost around $100,000, and now you're saying that it's going to cost $234,000. It seems that the county taxpayers shouldn't be the only people that are on the hook for that. It seems like your designer, architect, contractor should play a role in that, and not just the county. if you're looking at the amount of money, Bob gives us payout sheets every week showing how much money we're paying to our contractor, our designer, our architect and all that. It's just me as the one commissioner here. It seems like we should all have some skin in the game and not just the county taxpayers. It seems to me that that was more of a design failure than a county failure. I mean, there's been a lot of talk throughout this commissioner's court that I've been involved in, and a lot of people have brought up the fact that, yeah, we did talk about having them all level, but it all goes back to now we're wanting to foot a bigger bill. That just doesn't seem right. Y'all are all represented here. Y'all have I'm not saying the county job here is making or breaking you, but it's made money. I don't understand why that the county taxpayers would be on the bill for this solely. So that's just my part.
Well, and Glenn, I need to add to the fact that, you know, prior to this happening, we spent considerable amount of time with some lips that were existing in showers in our other facility that we had to eventually spend $80,000-$90,000 to repair and fix because they were elevated. And it posed a tremendous amount of trouble in our existing jail. And then to come back and get caught with this, it just, I don't know. I'm with Mickey. It is disconcerting.
$235,000 is a lot of money to spend on a retrofit of a brand new building.
Well,
That's a lot. Yeah,
there's a lot of,
That's a big step.
there's a lot of people here that were involved in that step, and I mean, I've been out there and looked at it. I don't know if any of y'all have, but there's not even a handrail to come out of that shower. What's the normal height, since you're a contractor and a builder and designer, what's the normal height of a step in a hallway? 7 inches?
Usually about 7 inches.
7 inches for a normal step. That's just government's code. But yet we have an 8-inch step going into a shower that doesn't have a handrail. That does, to me, that's poor designing. That's poor.
These are standard cabinet showers.
I know.
Throughout the industry.
I know, and
all over the country.
it's a standard cabinet shower that's designed to be profitable for the person installing it.
Well, part of the reason for a cabinet shower to begin with is because showers inevitably in a jail are some of the most maintenance intensive areas that you have.
Correct.
Right. So initially we started with a stainless steel cabinet shower, and those are standard design. You know, we don't design them. The people that supply them, you know, they give them to the contractor installs them. It's a done deal. They're all that way, all the way around the country. So we then VE'd and took the stainless steel cabinet shower out, kept the shower pan at the 8 inches, and they built the sidewalls out of steel and have applied the epoxy paint to the interior of the showers. So that's what we have, and it's nearest what we initially designed, and you know, so we were just trying to keep with that. The 8-inch step is a very standard. I mean, it's all over. I mean, that's the way they're all done. I mean, I went back and looked at other facilities that have recently been completed, and they have that in cells. If it's a gang shower or a shower within the day room, which inmates use all the time, they're level with the floor, and that's not the issue. But inside a cell, which is where these are at, this is the standard industry way of doing it.
And did you bring a list of those jails that you've put that 8-inch step in with no floor drains?
I have.
And they're.
Midland County, Lubbock County, Hayes County, Benton County.
And out of none of these jails have you put any level?
No, never.
Okay.
No.
And are you the primary jail builder in the state of Texas?
I'm the architect.
Okay. To me, once again, I just argue, and my point is that I believe this was done wrong, handled wrong, and I don't believe the taxpayer should be the only one on the hook for it. So.
Well, I mean, what is mandating the change? If all these other jails, Kurt, operate this way, why are we moving away from that?
My understanding is the county had a lawsuit in recent years where someone fell. I don't know the details of that. So that is the main reason for wanting to go down to the floor level with this, so you don't have to step up.
And I think it is probably a lawsuit waiting to happen, especially the fact that we sit here, I mean, our civil attorney might say, but we sit here and discuss the facts that we think it's not really proper right now. But if everybody else, it's good for everybody else.
From a logical standpoint, I don't like it. But what I heard Mr. Pardee say was that that meets Texas Jail Commission standards.
And there's-
That way, without a drain on the outside of the shower, but with the treated surface for the person to step out there.
Yes, sir.
Well, not to understand that we went from a stainless steel shower stall to a concrete shower stall with epoxy paint.
It's a
Boy, that's-
steel shower stall with the.
That's backing up 5 miles right
No,
there.
it's solid steel shower stall, isn't
Yeah,
it? With epoxy paint adhering to the steel.
Still a backup from a stainless steel deal. My experience with epoxy paint has not been very good.
Powder coated first, and then get out that part.
I'm still, the stainless steel in that
Stainless steel would
facility,
outlast it, but that's,
absolutely.
well, and it's different than a group shower where, like, we have showers in the day rooms that get a lot more use because there's a lot more guys that are using them. In a single cell, you know, you have at the most one shower a day.
Right.
And so it's just a lot less use, so, you know, therefore, you know, you do see this a lot where you have the steel shower and then it's painted, finish. That's pretty, again, normal in a single cell situation.
Well, powder coat's a pretty nice surface, epoxy paint, yeah. It'd go either way, and, the stainless steel is, pretty much gonna be there, just in my experience. I don't have a lot of faith in epoxy paint in a wet situation. I've had some bad experiences.
Isn't that a nice name for rhino liner?
Yeah, I've had some bad experiences with that, so. Anyway,
and as far as, is there no, I don't know, it's still back to the same thing. I think if you get with your contractor and you get with your designer, I think that when you tell them what you want, if it's not built that way, then there ought to be some kind of recourse. I don't understand why we're spending more money, but I don't disagree with the judge. If we're not required to have it by law, then why do we want to spend another $250,000 to change it? It's a lot of money on the taxpayers, so.
Well, the good thing is the money is still within the bond issue and interest earned. But there's still a list of some other things to be done. And, you know, this project is gonna come in, right?
yeah.
Or there's gonna be some pain felt all around this room.
The judge, you'd certainly like to use that money to improve the function of the facility and not, you know, there's still some things out there we could do that would make it a more functional facility if we came to the point. I understand all the money's gotta be spent on that project, but, boy, it's just hard to swallow, guys.
Well,
It's a
Lisa
big
and
pill.
Will speak to this concern.
If the water comes out of that shower, there's no way to mop it up or squeeze it back into that drain. And then there's drains out in the hall, which requires an opening the door, moving the inmate out, getting the water out into the hall, into a floor drain in the hall.
And these are not like they're gonna have, they don't have sheets up there in their shower to block the water. When you turn the water on, it's gonna run out. I mean, it's a small shower on an 8-inch pedestal that's gonna run all in the floor.
And you're gonna have a blocked drain at some time.
And it
it's
just-
gonna run out through the field.
This gets back to the whole original design and architectural design of this building.
So one of the reasons to lower this is so that the water can escape through the drain in the shower.
And any other water in the shower can drain through
We
there.
are talking about a secondary drain. Here's the shower, then you've got a drain here that's gonna take that water from the person, either what came out, which way did, I can't remember which way the shower head points. Is it pointing
It
towards
points
the
out.
outlet, or is it point back towards?
It points at an angle towards the outside.
Yeah, it takes about 3 seconds to run the water in the shower with no one in it before you have water starting to funnel on the floor.
3 seconds. You did say 3 seconds?
All the way.
And that's with nobody in the shower?
Yeah.
You mean the way it's designed today?
Turn the water
Correct.
on, it hits the wall, it starts running down the wall, and then it's outside, and turning on the floor within seconds.
I understanding the VE process when we discussed the floor drains, and I was in that conversation, and we took that one out of the center of the cell, it was my impression that we still had that one at floor level where the shower was, and that's why we took that one out of the center of the cell. Because otherwise, we'd have had two floor drains within 4 feet of each other.
Now that makes a lot of sense.
Reasonable sense to take that one out. I did not, and I was not part of the when they talked about it, so when I first saw it step up, that was my first thing I said, why we have it like this? Now ain't no place for water to go.
I've tried numerous times and I've yet to be able to make water run uphill.
But I'm assuming that when these kids come out, that there is some taper to the floor in the lowered shower, correct? I mean, it's not just flat with the rest of the room, is it?
Correct, there would be some taper.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you took the showers out and re-poured them at the floor level, they would be tapered to the drain. Yes, sir.
Right now, the P-trap is above floor level.
Correct.
Underneath that stainless steel, they'd have to cut out the concrete, put the P-trap in the ground, and run it out the back. I believe you have to cut a hole in the back concrete to tie into the drain line. So when they poured the front back, then it would be just slightly below grade where all the water would stay in there.
So an option of, if you were okay with the showers at the 8-inch height, would be to put the secondary drain in the cell. Then you wouldn't have the cost of of taking out the shower pans, repainting them. The repainting, the epoxy painting is $62,000-ish. There's some welding that needs to go on to the shower stuff, the shower walls after pieces are removed. There would be a fairly significant reduction in cost if you left the showers alone and then put the additional drain in the floor of the cell. It's just because you wouldn't have, you wouldn't have all the tearing apart of the shower that's already built.
Well, with that drain, would each shower run back behind there, or would they run together and then just one to the back? How would that work?
Well, it would go separately to the
So you
underfloor.
still haven't cut to the concrete.
You still have to do that,
yourself.
right, you still have to, but that's the minimal. The cost of that part of this is not that much. The cost is in the shower, tearing apart the shower, and then rebuilding the shower at a lower level. So then you'd have a floor drain at floor level, plus you'd have the shower.
The problem,
In fact, we've been doing this for 10 weeks, why was this option never discussed until today?
well, the problem,
Each day we add to this adds money on the end of the project. That's the biggest driver of the cost is nearly $250,000 is additional days on the project. We've had 10 weeks to resolve. I've asked repeatedly at our Thursday meetings, where's my resolve? And, this is the first time we're hearing this potential other solution.
Mark, I do have another issue though, but you can put a floor drain in the middle of the floor all day long. Those floors were not poured with any kind of slope. That's a level floor. You can put a floor drain in the middle and that shower is gonna run out and it's gonna run all around that cell before it ever gets to that. So that seems to be a,
Or it should have been designed to slope in the floor to the drain. This seems to be an ongoing, myth on multiple parts that we didn't really design our building the way we should have as far as, getting water out of the floor.
so I don't see a floor drain in the middle of the cell and a level slab helping you out. Y'all, the two behind there, do y'all agree with that, or are we all in agreement that the floor drain in the middle wouldn't really work?
It at least give a way to get the water out of the cell, with the squeegee.
You won't be able to squeegee it to it though, Mark. If there's no slope, you're gonna be able to really control no water.
But is it part of that expense of taking the shower and dismantling it, whereas if you came out and you took out the floor in that area, put in the drain, and when you put it back, you then created the slope to go back to that drain? I think.
For a floor drain? You saying for a floor drain?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to cut out a pretty large sizable chunk of the floor, and I don't think that's what he's intending on doing.
That is part of the fix. But not if I added just a floor drain in the shower, right? I mean, that would be if you're taking the shower apart, cutting out the floor that's in the shower, cutting it a little further out. So, you know, you would have that draining to the shower. Then you would take care of that issue if you did it that way.
And I do think the best fix would be to get that floor drain in the shower at level. You shake your head yes, you shake your head yes, that would be that's the most logical fix. We pretty much all agree with that.
If you've got water in the cell, you squeegee it back into the shower and it drains there.
Yeah, but your chances of getting water in the cell, other than the shower, are pretty slim. I mean, you already have a mechanism on the toilet to keep it from overflowing. Your odds from getting the water in the shower are fairly slim with the floor drain in the shower level, with the, below level of the floor.
So, just a few things. The shower pan is not 8 inches, it's 10 and a half inches.
10 and a half.
10 and a half. The problem, there's several problems with this. From a security standpoint, the people that we're housing in these cells are not your general population inmates. They're inmates that assault officers. They're mental health inmates. So you already have them 10 and a half inches higher than your jail staff. You also have a wet floor every time they shower. There is not a way, because the way that the shower is designed, the shower wall turns, and it's actually 55 inches from the edge of when you walk into the shower, and it goes up to 87 inches. So there's no way to install a shower curtain in those to keep that water in. The other problem is in our current cells that have the raised shower pan, the spout points towards the back of the shower. In these ones, it points out. So there's going to be absolutely no way to keep that water in that cell, or in that shower area. Even if you go in and put a floor drain in there, you are still going to have the water coming from that shower into that cell. You're going to increase your chances of officer injury, inmate injury. I mean, I think, yes, it's a lot of money right now. There's no doubt about that. It's a big chunk of money. But this is a 100-year building. Do we want to deal with this issue for 100 years? That's my issue. So.
I don't think there's any discussion that it needs to be fixed. It's just who's gonna pick up the tab.
10 and a half inches is a lot.
Yeah.
Is there any design to the pointing of the shower when this remodel occurs? Would we change that direction at all?
No.
I don't believe, because the way that the cell's designed, I don't think that there's a way that you can do that.
Still made in there.
It's actually built into the cell already.
Probably nobody else will ask this, but I'll ask it. We've been in contract to build this jail with these gentlemen here, everybody here. Are y'all willing as companies to go in and help the taxpayers of Wichita County to fix this? Because I think right now that this needs to be, it's not shouldn't be just a taxpayer issue. I think this is something that the companies that we're paying these millions of dollars to need to be a part of.
Commissioner, I'll start. I'm Michael Perry. I'm the project executive with Yates Construction.
Okay.
I don't believe that your contractor was hired for those meetings. I don't believe we were even on board.
Okay.
So we have a responsibility to you to build what's been designed. We have a responsibility to you to ask questions as we go through the construction process, and we do that through a submittal process. So from our standpoint, we don't feel like this is a contractor issue. In addition to that, however, every time the judge or Commissioner Beecham has asked for help, we've come. Today's no different. So if you're asking us for help, our answer is always going to be yes. But I want to say we've contributed over $300,000 to this project out of our pocket already. The best way we can help right now is to go faster. And to do that, we need to get going today. We need to turn our team loose and go get this material ordered. We've got a plumber saying he needs 6 weeks just to do the work. This is, as you know, as a contractor, we're going into a confined space with a gas concrete saw and a jackhammer. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess everywhere. They have to hand dig this work. The line that they're talking about actually goes underneath the edge of the cell. So they're going to have to jackhammer on both sides of the cell in a small confined mechanical space on the other side. This is very intense work that the best way we can help is reduce the amount of time that we're asking for. So the faster we can go, the more the money comes down. So that's how we can contribute to this, is let us go get started on this, let us get the material going, let us see how quickly we can get the contractor in. We'll coordinate with Commissioner Beecham, as we do every week, and the judge. I think from our standpoint, that's how we can help.
And you're with Yates.
I am with Yates Construction.
And back again with the whole deal. That's why I'm asking right now. I believe that everybody involved in this should be involved in it. I mean, all you're doing is saying that you'd be willing to pick up the work faster, but I'm asking right now, how can we, to the taxpayers, get this money down? I think there's some definite problems here, because even Jeff brought up the fact that we've had this issue with the steps before. So that's been a step up in the showers before, so we've voiced concerns before, and we voiced concerns in this project also. It just seems, once again, it seems very wrong in my opinion. So.
If we speed up the process, the monetary goes down. A large percentage of the cost of this project, additional project, is the thing that is GC money.
Yeah, but if you're asking us to approve $243,000 today, we don't know, or $234,000, we don't know that we can save that money, and you're not saying that you can?
No.
And you're the architect?
Yes.
And you haven't said that you're willing to help with this deal at all? Were you in the design part of it?
Okay, I will talk with my team members here and see what we can do now.
I mean,
I've done-
I don't think we're asking for too much here. I think there's some definite oversight, whether it's on the part of you, of the sheriff's department, of the commissioners. There's been a lot of oversight here. This, to me, as soon as I walked, I was just amazed. There's some things you'd let go, but that just seemed odd. But I would like to have some answers, whether or not what y'all can do. But I do think we need to get this going, because the longer we drag it out, the more it's going to cost. I agree. You need to be working on it 10 weeks ago. So I don't.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, I think that Mr. Beecham is correct. We should have been looking at this 10 weeks ago. We shouldn't have ever gone on this long. We should have it resolved as soon as we discovered that what we had thought we were getting. I don't know why we're sitting here 11 weeks later, just now talking about the resolve.
And I actually thought, Mark, that there was going to be some meeting by the people, all the people involved in this, to see if there was a way to ask for some help from them, to see if we could get some other people having some input in the game other than just the taxpayers. But.
You know what we might do to that end, and I don't know whether you all can commit to this, but this meeting's gonna probably run another hour. Can you all do anything in that time to come to some sort of proposal? Something tangible. I realize, Michael, what you're saying intellectually makes sense. What I need to say, you need to tell me what that means in dollars.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that speed is gonna be it, can y'all talk and come to some kind of agreement that we can probably save the taxpayers, we're willing to put forth this to try to get this done in as fast a pace as we can. But I think that's something that y'all probably need to talk together and see what y'all can do. And let us, besides us just sitting here saying, we're gonna pass this or we're not gonna pass it, we need to have your commitment to know what you can do to get it done. And what you're willing to help the taxpayers do.
So, if I could, I'll answer the judge's question.
Yes, sir.
In an hour's time, I'll start there, Commissioner, then I'll come to you. In an hour's time, Yates's position is not going to change. I don't believe. We'd be glad to get together and visit, as we've done previously, as we did yesterday. And then Commissioner, I'm not able to give you a dollar unless I know how quickly we can accelerate that schedule. And without having that material ordered and being able to get a delivery time on it, there's not much more I can do with that. So from our standpoint, again, we're your contractor, we're contracted with you directly, and you brought us on, I believe, after the design was complete. We did
Yes.
participate in the value engineering process and offered
Okay.
some cost savings. But from an original design as to what is a jail commission acceptable standard, as to what was talked about in tours, I don't believe that Gates was a part of that or has responsibility on that. I don't want to be brutally honest, but I just want to be brutally
Right.
honest.
Yeah,
And actually, you were hired throughout the design phase as part of the team.
But we weren't part of those meetings, and we don't design to jail commission standards.
I agree with
As a
that.
contractor, you understand, we've got to follow what is designed, because we're contracted with you. We'd be glad to,
Go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, Judge, I interrupted.
No. Okay, one of the reasons this team right here is sitting here is because of your all's experience. It
Right.
throws me a little when you say, we're gonna build it like it's designed. We had a conversation about 3 months ago. I said to you all, I am tired of seeing these oversight problems. I said, y'all need to sit down, go through this, and let's don't have one. We walk in and go, oh my. We need to identify the oh my's 3 months ago. And that doesn't seem to have really happened. But with your all's experience in building jails, I would have thought some of that would have come forward and said, hey, this doesn't look like the best idea, even though it saved the money. I'm sure counting on that, because the people I talked to and we were considering you all, that one of the things they did was their experience has been good for us.
Yeah, Judge, thank you for that, and we do pride ourselves in trying to look ahead and have that crystal ball as things are coming, but I would agree with what Curtis said. They have designed a shower that meets the jail commission standards, whether it seems crazy to us now or not. When we looked at that, okay, we have a jail commission shower, and that's what we went for. That's why the question wasn't raised by
Yeah,
us.
but also the common sense logic, where's the water gonna go?
Don't disagree?
And when we talk about this with that step out area, that's not gonna squeegee, is it? It's a rough surface. It's gonna have water left there. Only thing I know is a shop vac might, do that. Even with the drain there, I think Captain and Chief, I think we're still gonna have water issues.
oh, you're gonna have some, it'll just negate it quite a bit, but. So how do we move forward with this?
Well, I
Fo-
offer one
postpone?
idea. If you all wanna talk and say if you can come up with something better,
I mean,
or possibly even is it better to look at this other idea of how the drains would be put in instead of taking out the shower, bottom.
Judge, the benefit of the shower option versus just putting a floor drain out in the middle, you're gonna see this big patch.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
At least in the shower, we pour it all back, we cover it up, it looks like a completed project. That's just one thing to take into account.
Okay, so if I thought the purpose of taking up the shower pan was to put a drain out here that would then tie into that?
no,
No,
put
not if we remove those, we'd leave them as is, Judge.
The shower would be at below floor level, like it is in the ADA showers.
yeah, and most,
Because all these showers are like they're being built in the ADA areas.
are part of the showers, and I believe that's true, part of the showers in the jail are built level.
Yes, the ADA showers are also.
These are the ones in solitary?
Right, and there's some in solitary that are level.
Yes, sir.
It appears to me, just looking at them, just as a novice here, but it seems walking into them, that the ones that are level are a cheaper build than the ones that are stepped up. Just looking at your,
It would seem that way.
it appears that the cost is lower to build them that way, but that's neither here nor there. I think right now, you said that you were willing to get with your people and see what we could do, and y'all can talk, and I say that we move this back. I make a motion.
We can't keep moving it back, because then
Right.
we got.
Yeah, I mean, at least till later today. I mean, or at the end of our session, if y'all can do any talking till then, because we need to have some more concrete numbers. I don't know. see what you are willing to do, but I do think the shower, level shower is the best option to go for the county.
So it would remain that way, okay, I didn't catch on to that.
Basically, you would use your shower floor drain. Your level shower floor drain is the complete cell floor drain also. If there was ever any other water in the cell, it would all go to that shower drain, which is gonna be the lowest point in the cell. It's gonna be, the only part of it that'll be sloped is probably, they're probably looking at a 3 or 4 inch cutout from the shower is what I would guess to start sloping it there. So 3 or 4 inches out, you're probably gonna have a 3/4 inch drop in the whole shower.
It's just enough to drain water.
Yeah, that'd probably be all there was. It's not a, the hardest part,
So that step would be completely eliminated?
yes.
Okay.
There would be no
That's
step.
why it came on.
Huh?
I said my light came on.
Okay. There'd be no step at all in that shower, so if you're injured, if you have some kind of walking issue, you don't have to step up, because right now, there's nothing to even grab hold of other than the little steel wall on one side that you could hold yourself while you're stepping up into the shower. It all falls back to the same thing I said from the beginning. It's all design.
Well, stepping down with wet feet would be
Yeah, it's,
really
You'd be
hazardous.
stepping onto that treated surface.
Well, okay, but still.
Captain Patterson said more than 8 inches,
Captain Patterson said it was 10.5 inches from the floor.
10.5 inches.
That's according to their sheet we got, the cut sheet, so.
And I also agree, we don't need to put it off.
No.
What I think, we need to have some, I don't know. You're saying that you wasn't involved in the design, he's saying that you were. There's been lots of he said, she said's here. I just think we need to come up with something to get it done as quick as we can. It benefits everybody to have it done as quickly as possible.
Well, the problem, there's been a changeover in the leadership from Yates. We've had, how many people in Stephen's position? And you're the second senior person.
That's correct, Judge. I'm the second senior person, and again, our subcontractors are responsible for building what's on the documents. We've asked the questions through a submittal process, which is a normal process. We've done that. We've contributed over $300,000. I have the documentation with me. So from our standpoint, we feel like you have a designed, functioning shower. I don't disagree. What you're going to put in is better. It's safer. It's an upgraded product, absolutely. But what you have designed and built right now meets and will pass the jail commission standards. So from our standpoint, we have given, the best way we can help you is to go faster and try to save money on the back end of it, which time is money in our business.
And luckily, everything that you're doing on this job primarily is all local. You're not really having any specialty parts that you're buying. These are all, you're all talking drain lines, floor drains,
That's right.
and labor.
We're talking about the fix, not the
Yeah.
original design.
Yeah, we're talking about the fix.
Fix is-
The fix is something that there's not a shortage of. You don't have to order it. The main thing you have to do is dig, saw, jackhammer.
The shower drain body is a security type drain. That's the only specialty type device that I can think of.
And that's not something that's hard to find. So that's, I agree. You know, you're talking about speed and getting parts in here, but most all those parts are something readily available. You can buy them here in town.
Plumber's local, concrete guy doing the demo is local. Absolutely.
But we just need some, I think we need some better numbers on what's,
The other caveat to this, if it helps one way or the other, but it gives us more time on this end, and we would know more how quick things are moving as far as the construction goes, is approval of an IOCC is one step in it. It's going to come back as a change order. The IOCC just gets the ball rolling, then we have to come back for an actual change order. When we come back with the actual change order, the number could be corrected at that point.
you're saying they could go up or down.
Can't go up. Come on,
I still, just back to what I originally said, I think there needs to be some other skin in the game.
just so that it can move forward now. It's like, I guess, approving a guaranteed maximum price, and then it would come down from that when we do the actual change order, because we're gonna have to bring the actual change order back to court again, because it will require court action for the actual change order as well. It's a two-step process there.
I think,
So we're talking about a week.
I think there's also some, to look at it on a different level, it would be nice if, as the designer or the architect, you could say, you know, we're willing to be involved for 25% of this or 35% of this failure. You see what I'm saying? Each organization that was involved in this, in my opinion, should be involved in it some. Not saying that we're having a definite dollar amount right now, but if we can get in there and get it all done for $140,000 and it comes in under budget, I'm asking, are y'all willing as companies here that are involved in this design to be involved with it to that percentage? Not a necessary dollar amount. If y'all can get it done for $100,000, then you see what I'm saying. You have a max fee here that you're not going to go over this, but you're taking into, as any good contractor would, worst case scenario, everything goes wrong, we can definitely get it done for this and still make money. I'm just asking if y'all would be in for some percentages to help the taxpayers out on this, because I think we haven't not wrote you checks, I don't think, when you've needed them. When your check comes there every time, I mean, we try to pay, I'm sure. So that's all I'm asking for. So if y'all would take a few minutes and get with your people and talk to them and see what their thoughts are. Do you have a problem with that, Judge?
No, sir, wrong.
And we can get it, maybe something done today. I agree. We do need to have something passed that says y'all can get started, because it does need to be done.
But if, what I hear here, let's say we went ahead and approved this step, we still haven't committed financially, because they've still got to go through and come back with the change order. All we've done is put the actions in place and maybe give a little more time for that consideration and participation. But nothing actually gets ordered, funds expended until the change order is.
No, when this IOCC is signed, they can go to work.
Which means funds are committed, Judge. Again, I hate to be the one that keeps being brutally honest about it, but funds are committed when you sign off on
Okay,
this.
all right.
Now,
That's what I thought
Ken,
more than I thought the explanation.
we can always bring you a credit back if it comes in faster. As Linda said, it can always come in cheaper, but we can't exceed that amount. You're saying you've committed those dollars.
Closed session.
Well, let me ask you this, are there fees that are discretionary that are being added into this, overhead, additional architectural or engineering fees?
No, there's no architectural design fees. The only thing that's in there is our contractor profit. That's all that's in there. The rest of it is subcontractor costs. Those are hard costs. We've provided all of the backup. Those are local subs. So if you want us to give back, I gotta go back to the local subs and say, give back. Which we can do, but
My question still comes back to the design architect side of it. Are y'all willing to be in for this sum? Because what I'm hearing here is we're still not answering the same thing, and I don't blame you for not wanting to.
I'm gonna go think about it, I'll get back to you really quick.
Okay,
I have designed a solution that meets all the standards.
correct.
It doesn't meet what the county wants.
Whether you-
That's, I have to go back and talk to my people and try to get them to understand why I feel it's important that we be a part of the solution here. Because I have designed a solution that meets the building codes, it meets TCJS requirements, and no one threw up a red flag until it was built.
And see, that's where I maybe don't quite agree, because we seem to have too many people that said they were involved in the original walkthroughs and problems that said it was brought up. So, we're just disagreeing. But I do think, as far as representing the county, my job is to represent the county the best I can. So that's what I think I'm doing. And I don't think that we should just have a vote and just approve it. I think we should at least ask for the people that made those decisions and those designs to be involved in trying to correct it. So it's no hard feelings towards you, you understand that. I'm just representing my taxpayers. Okay?
Judge, we're gonna be here this afternoon.
Yep.
Right. We've got a 1:30 separate meeting of this, but we could simply recess this. There also may be the need to go into executive session to discuss some of the legal issues involved in this. Ms. Jennings, I know you have some conflicts.
I do, Judge. The other thing is too, The session this afternoon is not a continuation of this morning's session. We're calling it a special session.
It is, but could we recess this, do the other one, and then come back into that one?
I need to look at that, Judge.
Well, this is the very first thing on the agenda. I would say that they have a little bit of time here anyway, because some of our other stuff is gonna take a little bit of time too.
Okay. Let's do that. You all let us know in an hour where we're gonna have more discussion with y'all and got any solution on that. Okay, I have 11:04 now. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the proposed Wichita County Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program. A PDF version of the program is available on the Wichita County website at https://wichitacountytexas.com/public notices. Yes, ma'am.
Can we have access to this conference room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
So Judge, would you note for me what time we're opening our public hearing?
I'm sorry, what?
Would you note for me what time we're opening our public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry, at 11:05. Any comments from anyone on the conference call?
Silence them. Yeah, you can. Thank you.
Okay. Having heard none, I will close the public hearing at 11:06. Next item is discuss, consider, take action on item number 3 is discuss, consider, take action to approve a resolution establishing the Wichita County Property Assessed Clean Energy Program and authorize Commissioners Court to sign the resolution. Let me kind of speak to this. This simply is a resolution placing the program in place. The next item is actually to approve the engagement contract with any of the providers. One of the commissioners expressed to me, and I agree, I didn't get enough time on that this weekend to fully, and one other commissioner said the same thing here this morning already. So I don't see us taking action on number 3, and we could certainly, I'm sorry, on number 4, and we could certainly wait on number 3 and do those next week on Monday. And which is what we said in the meeting last week, or last Friday. We had these on the agenda because we had to have it before we had the work session. So we will have done the public hearing that was announced, open and closed today. And it might be best just to go ahead and wait on these 2 items. But I don't want anyone to misinterpret that. I think I have not heard any negative feedback from any of the commissioners individually that we want to move forward on this. But there's a lot of documentation to review, and I underestimated how much time that would take.
One of the things I've noticed on this, Judge, is reading through as much of this as I can. It'll cross your eyes about halfway through. Nowhere in here do I find a definition of clean energy. What are we talking about?
It's the same, well, it's talking about, more than anything, I've done quite a bit of reading on it. It's talking about electrical savings, water savings, any type of utility savings is really what they're shooting for on most all the
How
programs.
is that clean energy? There's no definition of that.
There's credits that, and Charlene brought this out, that actually a company could apply depending on what the magnitude for clean energy credits, because if you put on a new roof, that then gives you better insulation and you reduce your expenditures for electricity.
No, I understand the concept. It's just strange to me that we're using a term here and nowhere does it define what that is.
And I don't think there's,
I'd-
nothing that I've read reverts back to any kind of clean energy, wind energy
No,
or
it's
solar
It's in
energy.
the title.
I know,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of things nowadays in the title that's not necessarily what it is. you
I
know.
perceived it only to be modernization
I did too, but it
of.
doesn't say that.
No,
And it would
no,
help
I
me if I
agree.
knew exactly what that was referring to, because I think it could refer to a lot of things that may or may not change my mind. It's not a bad program. I don't know, from what I've read, it's pretty complicated, and for the life of me, I don't see how you'd ever get it executed, but that's a banking deal, not,
Yeah, that's,
yeah.
you know, some of what was being put into the discussion Friday is not our concern. That's the
No, I
business
agree, I
people
agree.
do it.
I don't know how you'd ever sell it, but that's just me, and that's not what we're dealing with. That's up to somebody else, but just a few little things that, you know, when you read through it and you think, well, what does that really mean? Means different things to different people.
Often the legislature leaves things intentionally vague.
Yes, they do.
How vague they are when they make them.
Yes, they do. I'd feel a lot more comfortable to do a little more work on it and address it later on. You need a motion to that effect, Judge,
No,
or
sir,
we just not address it? Okay,
We'll bring
thank
back both items 2 and 3 for next Monday for action.
okay.
It'd be 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
We've had the public meeting.
If you don't have the glasses on.
Yeah, we don't have to operate it. We just gotta,
Right.
yeah, that makes a difference.
The
And I
only
think-
thought I had, and this kind of came from last week's conversation, was whether we ought to have a committee that at least this had to come through. I'm thinking Mr. Hampton on it to look at the finances. Does that look right? Just from our standpoint, even though we don't have a liability, would we want somebody from the Chamber of Commerce? Would we want any,
You mean to look at a deal individually if it's brought to us?
yeah, if it's brought and recommended, does it make sound reasoning? But all the stuff they've got to swear and testify and present papers to, what I saw in that kind of took, you've got people with engineering licenses signing off on it, and financial people approving they'll loan the money based on it. And you have a separate report testifying to the validity of those figures. So,
Right.
you know, that committee's work is pretty well done in the process.
And once again, this is not part of what we're gonna be doing with it, but I still, for the life of me, can't understand why a lender would give up his position. And I've not found a reasoning as to how that happens or how you make that happen, but
Maybe
That's just me.
just because they're willing to get that investor to put that capital into those buildings makes the value of those buildings so much more valuable than it was before. That would be about the only reason
giving
I
up
could see.
position is that, I've never found a banker that wanted to do that.
See,
I just never have.
I would think I'd be.
Have you, Bob Hampton? I'll give my position up, move ahead of me. Don't happen in the real world.
Well, what's happened?
But now, he did point out, and I will give him credit for this, they did say that in some instances, the original banker will step up and do this program along with their other one. Now, I can
Right.
see that, but boy, moving down a notch in your position, I'm sure it can happen, but I've not seen it, so anyway.
Well, some places technically.
Yeah, I agree.
$130 million.
And then we've got the question, and this is where I'm really confused, is we've got 2 groups, 2 programs. And for the life of me, I'm struggling I need a spreadsheet.
It's not 2 different, there's 2 different groups, but it's not 2 different programs. The PACE program is
Well,
one.
That's not what they told us the other day. One of them is a California model, and one of them is a
Texas model.
Texas model, so
Well,
there
no,
is 2
that-
programs.
That's a little bit, if you read the 2 models though.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do
Yeah,
right
I'm just
now, is
saying.
lay them side by side.
She's saying
and
that
see.
they have transformed the California model to fit Texas, and that's not necessarily wrong. They did take some aspects of that one, but they made it for Texas. They changed the wording and all for Texas. It's no different than if you had a sales contract for a California real estate broker and he moves to Texas, and he might take his own forms and modify it to meet Texas, but you still got to meet Texas law.
There's still 2 different programs, from what I'm reading, 2 different approaches. fine things,
Right.
little things. I'm not talking about the overall
Okay,
concept.
I was gonna say, one of them, a major business difference, one sits here and waits for you to knock on the door, the other one is out knocking on doors.
I think that's probably, you're probably right.
And that difference to me, you can definitely say a nonprofit over here doing it that way, I think.
Yeah.
I want someone helping cultivate and bring these changes to improve, buildings in Wichita County.
There's no way it's gonna hurt us. I mean,
No.
it could be beneficial.
Well,
It's just,
and
I
I have
wanna
a
be on the right
question
one.
concerning that, Tracy. Do we have within our, because I'm under the impression that our collection group would be pulled in to collect funds that went sideways, or if there was difficulty here. Is there penalties involved, or does the county fall back to pay the penalties involved in collecting some of this money? How, the firm typically, through state law of penalties and fees on collection monies that are out there, make their living off of those fees that don't encumber our initial monies. In this instance, is that the case?
The way I have read it initially is there is no cost to the county.
I agree. I
If
didn't
they
say
do
Any
that.
cost to the county, there would be a county in Texas.
It specifically says that in the
Absolutely.
document.
Okay.
So there's no way they're tagging us on the back end.
Okay, gotcha.
Nobody would be doing it.
Yeah, I did understand that part. It
Okay.
says specifically that, so.
And another thing that I think is a good thing is, no matter which, even if we go ahead and we were to pass the resolution today, we're not voting on the administrator today. What I'm getting at is, the way we're trying to do this is either one of those two companies, the one that sits and waits for people to come to them, can do contracts in this county, and the one that's out there soliciting business can do contracts in this county. We're not trying to choose one person, we're trying to choose that we're just a PACE recognized county.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think I don't see where that's a bad thing.
I certainly don't have a problem with moving forward if that's, you and Tracy feel okay with this.
Well, we do know before we vote on the last one, we do want to spend some more time on that one. I didn't get as deep in that as I hoped to get.
But you're talking item 3, we could push forward with it?
I don't agree, if you all just wanna adopt the resolution
Right.
and then wait on number 4, absolutely, or if you wanna do them in tandem next time,
Okay.
that's okay too. I think
Go
it's 6
ahead.
and 1/2 does the other.
I would still probably make a motion that we go ahead and approve number 3 as passing the resolution
And
for
I'll
the county.
second the motion.
Mr. Beecham, were you trying to say something?
No, I was just agreeing that if we could go ahead and move on 3, that just to establish it as a patient county, I think that should be doable.
All right.
Under circuit.
Any other comment then on item number 3? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Fincan and a second by Commissioner Watts to approve the resolution establishing the Wichita County Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Let the games begin.
All right. Okay, then we agree not to take action on item number 4. Item number 5 is review and approve the regular bills for payment.
And Judge, I'll make that motion. We reviewed those bills on Friday.
Second.
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 Any questions on the bills? Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Fincan to approve the bills for payment. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item number 6, discuss, consider, take action to approve the purchase of 2 APX 4000 portable radios for the Motorola, from Motorola at a cost of $2,329.25 each, with Constable Precinct 1 to be paid by transfer from general fund contingencies to lines determined by the county auditor. Mr. Burgoyne has gone over these. These are the compatible radios we use, and he has said it's they need the upgrade.
So they just have a lesser version today is a problem.
Considerably lesser, yeah.
Okay. And are those lesser versions, could we use those, Judge, in Road and Bridge?
Maybe so, and that would be checked, and there may only be one, that's why we're getting
Okay.
two.
Will these run on a separate frequency, Judge, or will they be on somebody else's?
They're on the sheriff's, and
Okay.
those radios carry multiple frequencies.
Yeah, I was just wondering where they were gonna fit, if they were.
Is that,
They operate mainly off of our frequency on the sheriff's radio.
Which, it's a security deal, I'm
Yeah.
sure, have problems or, that was good, I was just curious if they were gonna be standalone or.
now,
No.
Will, I don't know that we've had, and Barry, you can tell me this, but I constantly worry about it. So I've got, Barry sends me out to help Electra with fire. Should we be doing a test periodically as y'all have upgraded? You can get a hold of my guys, right? I mean, we know that
There
does
are
occur.
some compatible channels that we have, fire channel, for instance. I know we used to get the commissioner's channel, but I don't know, I haven't paid attention to.
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do anymore. I know we used to have it on the radio.
Is that something, Barry, that we need to,
Well, I remember I've talked to the sheriff on the radio at fire before, but I don't think.
But I
we can
think usually
anymore.
on big fire scenes, we all go to that fire.
Fire one or
Fire
text
one,
fire.
text
or
fire,
text
every
fire.
channel, we all have that same fire channel. So everybody's hearing what's going on.
so
It's
we
just
can
one.
get on that as well, our
Well,
guys?
Some of our radios will and some won't, because we kinda got piecemeal, we kinda get the leftovers, which is fine. I mean,
Do
that's-
we need to talk to Lee about looking at that and just seeing, or, it wouldn't be paramount that one of the tractor trailers has that radio in it, but it's paramount that the grader and the dozer has it in there.
Yeah, see, and we don't have that in, like our Bulldog didn't have a radio in it. Of course, the reason we kinda backed away from that, we're not responding to fires like we did before
Sure,
the Texas
sure.
Forest Service got here. So it's not been that big a deal. We had that discussion, Judge, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and
About
that,
putting identifying numbers on top of the cabs.
yeah,
And
and
getting the
what
radios.
bothers me, Barry, is like this year, one time we were called out. Well, that worries me greater because we're less equipped
Yeah.
than staying equipped. And
Since Sheriff's Department went to the new system, we don't, as far as I know, we don't communicate anymore.
Yeah, mainly because new system's digital and everything else is analog.
Yeah, I think that's right. But, and the reason is, we've got a pretty piecemeal deal, kind of works for us, but in an emergency situation, it might be a little less. But it would never hurt to have Lee do
Test.
just check and see where we are.
Okay.
You know, what works.
I'll
what doesn't
visit
work.
with him.
At one time, I had a handheld work, but the batteries give a.
Will seem like we have issue with that as well.
Yes. So, anyway, not a bad idea to take a look at it
Okay.
and, see where we are and where we might fit.
Well, we had an installation problem on some of the
Nancy.
heavy equipment because of the ground.
It's tough. And that's not a great environment for the radio anyway, it's vibration and all. So
That's where the handheld with.
I've been through my
microphone,
packet
I
a couple
guess.
times.
That's what I
and
used to
cannot
use
find
back in
anything
the day
like
when we
this. Do
used
you
to
have
call
anything
and
written
respond to
on
more fire. Once again, the good
Can you
news
show me?
is we're
Am I
not
just
having to do
overlooking
that.
it?
Those guys are a lot better qualified to do it than us, so that's good.
You'll probably go right to it and then I'll
So
feel like a
moved.
dummy.
Is there a second?
Second,
Oh, it's on the back. No, it's fine.
Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller to approve the item as stated. Any comments, anyone in the audience? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item 7 is discuss and consider to take action to approve a full rescue quote dated January 8, 2021 for equipping the Constable Precinct 2 vehicles for the service at cost of $5,580 to be paid by transfer from general fund contingency lines. 2 lines determined by the county auditor. This was part of the planning and what we did in getting those vehicles ready. We've already been through this in their request.
I do have a question. I would, just because I was called about this. These are, and I'm gonna ask the sheriff department this, are any of these currently being used by any of the constables? These, all these different,
These vehicles,
Phoenix
we-
Fusion.
we just gave to the, you talking about the vehicles?
We
No,
replaced
the-
them with new, Mickey,
I know,
and we
but they're-
gave them existing Tahoes
right,
that were in our fleet.
right, but they all had
Light
currently
bars.
working light bars and everything already on it. Is any of the other, what I'm saying is, does precinct 1 have all this different brand light bars and everything?
Mickey, I don't know what they're gonna do with their equipment.
Okay,
Part of this, Mickey, was,
What,
go ahead, Mark.
why if we just, gave them our existing patrol vehicles, why would they need additional items on them? Why would light packages be different for constables opposed to?
Well, that's my question mark too.
yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Guys, every bit of this was brought before us months ago, before you were on.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I'm,
And everybody said, okay. And so
Well,
we
we-
told them to move forward on it.
But Judge, we talked about striping, that was my.
That's what,
changing
I
the-
knew that we were taking off sheriff's deal, but I
Me
didn't
too.
know we were taking off the light bars and putting new light bars on them.
I don't think we
That
did.
doesn't even seem to make
Well,
sense.
y'all are not pulling light bars, are
No,
you?
those vehicles were shipped, we gave them with the light bars
Yeah,
on them.
because y'all are
Yeah, they
fitted.
have the light bars,
equipped.
they have the lights in the grill, they have the
Yeah.
back lights, they have, I believe those, even the 2016s, I know, had lights in the rear lights, you know, inside the light part. So they're, and it's got lights, I believe, on the running boards on the,
Yeah, I knew they had to be restriped and redesignated, but I thought they were coming with
yeah, they,
that equipment on it.
The other thing that throws me in this, Constable Little said he offered to trade his vehicle, which didn't have a cage in it, with precinct 2. So maybe we need to have them come in and talk about this and get some of that straight. But the light bars had been a discussed issue, but maybe we just didn't have enough focus on it, so.
I mean, I could understand if they weren't if it wasn't a working product, we needed to get something in there working, but if we have a fully rigged out patrol vehicle, and we're gonna take it all apart to put on something that,
Well,
We've
and
never had-
our
it seems
vehicle
like-
has over 100,000 miles on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the easiest thing, ask them to come back in, but I also have a problem taking one vehicle that would do the purpose and not just swap it from one precinct to the other and not have that cost and change.
But why does the transport cage have to come out of those vehicles?
That's what I'm kind of curious about, and I didn't have time to call him and say why, because you have to have that, if you're gonna
Pick up
arrest people,
anybody?
and you're gonna transport juveniles or anything, you gotta be in a marked car, and it's gotta be.
Judge, I think one thing that would be different in having this discussion today than when we had it prior is we now know what specific units
Right.
we're talking about and how they're equipped. We did
have
not
to
know that. And we discussed it earlier. We knew we were getting some, but we
Right.
didn't really know what was coming.
there, and I had talked to the
Yeah.
constable over there, and he said that they were gonna rig up one marked unit and one unmarked unit.
Okay.
That's basically what he
Well,
told
the
me.
constable wanted an unmarked unit.
I believe we gave them two,
With the other lights.
I believe we gave them two 2016s and two 2014 Tahoes. And I don't know how they divided them up, I believe that's how they ended up.
But we actually know what we're dealing with now, and we didn't when we had that discussion.
And two of those will go to 2, but where's the other 2?
One's going to, I guess, to precinct 1 and one going to precinct 3?
3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
It says here on the quote, the installation of gun locks, removal, transport cage, traffic advisor, left, right, alley, and takedown lights, or removal of light bar. On the lower, removing lights and then adding new lights.
Yeah. Good question. Okay, so let's put this, we'll bring it back next week and ask them to be here. Okay, item 8. Discuss, consider, take action on Bruckner truck sales quotes for belly dump trailers for $36,400 each, with trade-in offers for precinct 5, from $225, $250, $5,001. Commissioner Watts.
Yes, we have looked at the trade-in on our trailers. We have 2 3-year-old trailers that Bruckner Trade-In has allowed 21.2, I believe, isn't it, Willie? 21.2 for those trailers with the buyback of 36.4 on the upgrade. What comes into question here is we do have a 2007 same brand trailer. CMT is what these are, good trailers. That is now 13, headed 14 years old, and it's going to need some brake and axle work. We've been having some what's the actuators on our doors are giving us some issue. We've just gotten it. It's just getting long in its tooth. So the question.
They're offering 6 on it, is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, and so they have offered us $6,000 for that, which I've been across the board anywhere from $7,500 to $5,500 as to what seems to be notable as a trade-in, and then we would pull us up to 3 new same equipped our belly dump trailers.
You need 2 new tractors.
2 new, Judge, that's on this program. There's 1 coming next year, so there's 3 tractors.
Okay.
There are 3 tractors to pull. We could actually use more, but we've just left it as the fact that we'll make do and use 15 yards to assist with, which Precinct 5 has 2 of those as well, and we've been able to make do. But it would put us into a similar fleeted trailer scenario that we haven't been in, and it's just been an issue for the last 2 or 3 joint hauls. We're working on that 2007 before we can get out there and get with it, because something's amiss.
Now, if we just had some gravel at all.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
We might not eat them this year.
Oh,
Constable Bridget is on the phone.
Oh, okay.
but it would be my motion that we accept the price for all 3 trailers presented for trade-in and purchase those 3 trailers for Precinct 5.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, let's go back to item 7. Constable Archer, are you on?
I'm here, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Commissioners had some questions about the things you were wanting to upgrade in order to replace on your vehicles.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go.
So, look, y'all want me just to give you a description, or y'all got a specific question?
Well, okay, let me go back. I understood Constable Little offered to trade out a vehicle that he has with you that does not have a cage in it.
That is correct, and we were gonna make that trade, but Constable Little's deputy preferred that vehicle over what we were trading back, so we were awarded with a 2014 right now Tahoe from the sheriff's office that has a light bar on it. Parts of the light bar's not working, the takedowns don't work, the alley lights don't work, the directional stick's not working. Not to mention the fact that I prefer to be in an unmarked vehicle, so that light bar needs to come off. With that is why we've got the quote from that Full Rescue, which is a local company here that does Phoenix. Phoenix is a light company made out of Texas. We use them on a lot of fire trucks. They're half the cost of Code 3 and half the cost of Wheeling or other additional products. The good thing about those is they can be pulled out when we get newer vehicles, and they can be reinstalled in the newer vehicles. It's just bolting to the headrest. The cage, requesting the cage to come out because, again, we're unmarked. I'm not going to drive a marked unit with a cage in it. I can't get to the back seat. I can't get my paperwork, my documentations, clipboards and stuff in the back seat with the cage in it, transport cage. And then, actually, there's the vehicle we have, and the second vehicle that we're gonna end up getting has no weapon locks. I have no way to lock my rifles or my shotguns in the vehicle. So essentially, all it requires is someone to knock the window out, and I'm not in my vehicle, and they can have a rifle and a shotgun without it being locked in there. So the weapon locks were donated from that company. That's gonna be the installation with that. They're gonna take out the cages, and in return, just to install the side intersection lights and the front and rear. The rear lights are what the arrow stick would be if I'm on the highway assisting with a traffic stop, or if I'm on the highway assisting with an accident, or if we're out on an emergency scene or fire or some other sort of deal, the arrow stick stuck in the backside.
Okay, the only question I have on that is, if you take that cage out, you can't transport anybody, is that correct or not?
No, you can transport. You don't have to have a cage to transport, and like we spoke in the meeting, Blackerby as well, if we transport somebody, which is very few and far between, we typically seatbelt them in the front seat, right next to us, versus being in the cage. There's multiple law enforcement agencies that don't run transport cages, to include Texas DPS.
Okay.
Now, Jerry, this quote does only 2 vehicles out of the 4?
Yeah, it's gonna be just for the precinct 2 vehicles. And all the lighting is really just adding the side intersection lights, because these are older vehicles, before they had the running board lighting. And so if we're running to a medical emergency, if we're assisting to get to an officer that's requiring assistance or some call, it gives us a better warning sign on coming through intersections. Because right now, like on that car, which the light bar is going to end up coming off of it, once you take the light bar off, there's no light left or right of it when you're coming through an intersection. It's very dangerous.
Make sure I'm right on this. Basically, Mr. Burchett, these are all gonna be, camouflage type lighting on the vehicle. There won't be any visible light bars. Is that
That's correct.
that's the gist of what you're trying to do?
Yes, sir.
But you're rigging it up with 2 vehicles?
So the second vehicle will have the striping on the side, and we're just unsure of what the light bar is at the time. I know this one, and we might end up trading whichever out of the 2 vehicles. We have one currently, but whichever out of the 2 vehicles has a better package, we're not going to end up ordering side lights for it if it's feasible.
And the reason I asked that is when I talked to you before, you said that you were rigging up one with lights and one without lights, unmarked completely.
Yeah, so mine will be the unmarked, and then the secondary vehicle that, what it actually ends up being is for the reserve deputy, but then it's the backup vehicle for any of the precincts that breaks there or one of their cars goes down. They're going to come get it, and it'll have the striping on it. Yes.
Right, but it's already gonna have striping and it already has lighting on it. It just,
Well, it should already have the lighting on it, but if it's the one of them 2014s, like what we just got, which it's going to end up being that era, it has no side lights. All it has is the one small piece of the light bar, which the one we received doesn't have. Well, there's a majority of the things on the light bar. The red and blue's work, and that's really it. There's no sticks, there's no takedowns, there's no alley lights, nothing of that works on that car. The big deal to understand with this is, these cars were backup patrol vehicles for the sheriff's office, and we're grateful for what we have. The difference for us is they're our primary vehicles, not our backup vehicles, and so we need better lighting package on them that essentially was either at the 2014 era they didn't have them, or just worn out from use.
We may have still, we're gonna have some other 2014s that we'll have light bars off the top of, that we may be able to just pull from these parts and pieces.
You mean that are also being traded in?
That will be, at this go around, we'll probably trade a few more in.
But that, okay, that doesn't take care of this situation right now, or?
Well, no, it doesn't fix the situation right now, no.
other questions for Constable Virtue?
No, sir.
Does that clarify your all's questions? You ready?
I mean, I understand, I think what he, or why he's upgrading or needing to upgrade on 2 of the 4. And
Well, the best part about that is it's mobile. You can move it,
Yeah.
which we want to.
But typically when we move those to third-party sales, they go
We take
intact,
everything
right?
off them, yeah, and that will be as a package, it will be auctioned off.
Okay.
Hey, can I add something else on that?
Yes, sir.
So the light bar on my car that's gonna be on the unmarked right now, it's supposed to come off, and they're gonna have to, if precinct 1 wants to fix that, the light bars on those cars are gonna come off and go to precinct 1, because he's got, 2 vehicles that don't have light bars, and then the one that came from the county, the white one, I believe it's a 15 or 16, I'm not sure, it has a light bar, and they're wanting full light bars on their vehicles. My office, we're not planning to run traffic. We're not set up currently to run the racial profiling and that paperwork. So we're not needing the full light bar for traffic or for that scenario. We're practically just running paper services and assisting outside agencies if they need assistance. But for the most part, we don't do traffic stops. And so those light bars are supposed to come off, go to precinct 1.
Okay. Anything else? You ready to take action?
Mickey, you're understand it all, too?
Yeah, it's, I don't quite understand, I mean, he's in my precinct, I'm pro law enforcement, I don't know that I'm 100%, for just rigging up 2 vehicles totally different than the rest of the way the county is, but he is the constable of that precinct, and he's spending money in his budget, and I think that's what he wants to do. I say go ahead and do it.
Okay. So I have a motion.
And I'll second the motion.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Okay, good deal. All right, let's go back to, the item number 1. Ms. Ramsey, y'all got something to share with us?
In consideration of the request to participate in this, we looked at the percentage fees of what the architect's fee would have been on this part of the project. We currently get a 17.65%, and so between Yates and they're matching the 7.65%, so between the two, the Yates and then the architect's portion is $36,000, which is 15.3%. That drops that IOCC down. You would get it in 2 different methods. Yates would take it off the IOCC, and the architect's portion would be taken off of our next. We'll give you a credit on the our invoice, but it brings it down from $234,984 to $198,984. So that's a 15.3%.
And what's the time frame that you think that's gonna be completed in?
A date or duration, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
How long a time period do you think it's gonna take to fix that? To fix the problem with those showers?
The actual work.
The actual work, yeah.
I'm sorry, I still think it's a little over 2 weeks to do the work. Cure time of concrete before we put the epoxy on is the big piece.
Yeah.
It's gotta cure.
It's
So-
probably gotta be, yeah, I would say 7 days.
At least,
Yeah.
we're thinking almost 100% cure before we put the epoxy on. That way it doesn't peel back up as was mentioned before.
Right.
You don't want it generating heat under that deal when it's
So we've got to go do that concrete work as soon as possible, and then it's gonna sit there and everybody's gonna wonder, well, what are you doing? Well, we're waiting for that concrete to cure so we don't have problems with epoxy later.
And just for my notes again, that's the architect taking the 15%?
The architects and Yates combined is 15.2%.
Okay.
And, Mark, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm gonna ask Michael, so.
And what is our projection, I mean,
Days additional to the project, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
We only heard part of you, Mark.
No, I said, we're still projecting the same, I believe it was 13 days added to the project.
Yes,
If the GC's not changing other than we're removing the architect's percentage.
No, Yates is reducing the overall ISCC. We think we need to keep the days the same.
Okay, keep the days the same.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
It's still twice what we originally thought it was gonna be going into it.
well, and that's my question, Mickey, for Mark. Mark, do we have a projection? I mean, here's just less than $250,000 sidebar for us. Do we have a projection of what our contingency is going to look at as we get into the short ropes of?
We have a couple projections. I did verify with Ms. Jones this morning, where our expenditures are. Then has prepared a spreadsheet as well. We should have more than sufficient money to cover this and additional contingency that may come out. We still have, I believe, 61,000 in general construction contingency that is part of Wichita County money, beyond just the bond funds that, proceeds from bond funds that we still. So we do have the money, without incurring additional taxpayer dollars.
And there again, I do appreciate very much y'all take your time and going to discussing this. I do think that speed is, trying to get this project completed is a big deal. I don't think that, I mean, other than litigation, I don't think there's any other remedy other than going forward with this. I mean, I appreciate y'all taking your time and looking at that, but I'm still a little let down that y'all didn't think that y'all's part of it was a little bit more involved than the 15% total between everybody. But if we got to get it done, I think that we do need to get it done. I don't know that we're going to save ourselves any money dragging it out and fighting it. So
If it makes the county happier, I will add another 3% and bring it up to, brings it up to 18%. That's $6,500 extra that I can add in there.
I would think truthfully for the planning that's been done for the taxpayers, I think that'd be greatly appreciated. But
I didn't hear all that. Did somebody please repeat that?
basically it changed from 15% to 18%. Save another $6,000.
So Commissioner, you'd be approving the ISCC today. The reduction, you guys check my math, would be, the new number would be $216,984. Am I correct on that? And then the balance would be credited to you back through fee invoices from the architect design.
And that would put it at the price at, you're down to 192 or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
192.
it's still 192, 484.
The
And
majority of that's coming back in credits back to you on the fee side. Their invoices.
Okay.
Contractually, we don't have a way to give Yates money for Yates to give y'all money, and so we have, our contract is with y'all.
Right.
So the way that if we give you money, we have to do it based on credits on our fee.
Right. And basically, I believe, and I could be wrong, for the most part, this is basically going to knock out most of the profit for your companies on this particular aspect of the project. It's not really a loss. You're not losing money on it. You're just not making your normal profit, which is some skin in the game, maybe not quite as much as I was hoping for. I would think that I was looking more of a 20% because I think it's still, I think there was too many people involved in the original planning of this that were completely, this poor, but if we can get it, done, I think we ought to go ahead and move forward to get it done.
Is that a motion, sir?
Yes, sir.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Fitkin and second by Commissioner Watts to approve the item as stated, except the new amount will be, net $192,494. That's with credit supplied and, cost reduction.
That's all right.
I thought it was 484.
I got 484, dude.
484.
Oh, 84, okay.
Yeah.
But the IOCC will be 216,984.
Yes, ma'am.
216,984.
And Judge, that's what you'll see come back as a change order in the next
Okay.
phase.
All right.
Okay.
And then those credits are applied after that. All right. All
Is
in
there-
favor? I'm sorry. Anything else?
Quick question I have. Mark, is there any other issues like this at the jail that we know of that are currently maybe thinking about or talking about, or?
This is the largest outstanding issue that we have.
Okay.
We did resolve another major issue last week. I think all of our team members working together, it was taken up with the contract that completed fees. That one was easily gone, 150,000, had everybody not worked together and resolved that one.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, I don't believe there are any other major outstanding issues that we have to worry about. We're closing off pods right now. Most of it's finished work that we have to do. I don't think there's anything major construction wise that will.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Good, you want to go into the law enforcement center project update, is everybody still in the room?
Whoa, Linda?
They're not.
Right here.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
she's still here, she didn't go.
I do that.
All right, let's go ahead and have a quick update.
Okay, so as, I'm sorry, I'm gonna take this off the top. As things are moving along very, very quickly, as I reported last week, I guess, don't blink because things are moving so fast. They're finishing up with from south to north on the housing pods. They finished up with I, and H is complete. This rework for F will be required, and so it will keep F and D from finishing out that work there, but otherwise then G and E are nearing completion. They've started dropping ceilings in the C, which is the very furthest north. So they're all the way doing the final finishes into the farthest north sets of pods. The landscaping should be finishing up this week. The fencing was prolonged because of COVID. And so I believe that they will be out there at the end of this week, first of next week, most likely starting the fencing and back again. They've been doing some work, but the concrete work around the bottom of the base of the fence is what's lagging. The area A, there's still a couple of items on the punch list that has to be completed. There's still a little bit of painting and some equipment that was ordered that has not come in yet. The detention equipment is long lead items, and then COVID set it back even further. Most all of the equipment, most of the equipment by the county has been put in the kitchen now. The kitchen, I think, is locked down. Is it not locked down right now? The kitchen is locked down. Laundry room is locked down. it's moving fast. Did I left off anything?
Commissioner, anything else you want to add?
What about the paint job in the lobby? I know it was some issue. Did we,
It has been
Complete that.
repainted, and is it still like one more coat? It's complete yet. We will punch it at the same time it was not punched, the lobby area was not punched. We'll punch it at the same time that we punch Area B, which has the visitation and all of that area in it.
Now, since you're talking on with you, so. No, Glenda just answered for me, that, yeah, we agreed not to punch it until they completed, the same paint process for the visitation lobby. It does appear, just by the naked eye, without looking at it in great detail, it does appear to be satisfactory. So that's not more than we expected.
All right, anything else? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What item were y'all down to? Sorry. Was there any others?
No, that got it. We're down to, unless you want to stay and help us figure out what to do about the COVID.
Yeah, number nine will be a challenge, so you're more than welcome to stay.
Not clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda.
We might have to have refreshments. Yes, sir. Oh.
Okay, item number 9 is discuss, consider to take action on Wichita County COVID-19 guidelines, updates, and related paid and non-paid issues. We cover a pretty wide gamut of things, and I'm going to ask first, are there any comments from anyone in the audience or suggestions? Okay.
I was really hoping for some good suggestions out there.
Me too.
Well, I thought about this a lot over the weekend. One of our bigger issues is with the exposures. My thought on with these exposures is to limit it to 120 hours for annual for any exposures requiring quarantine. And make that tied to any future instances if we have a federal recognized part of the policy.
Having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Mark. I'm pretty close and I couldn't hardly hear you, and other people in here can't really hear you. But if I heard you correct, you're wanting to propose 120 hours annually if you're exposed.
Yeah, for exposures requiring quarantine for any federally recognized incident moving forward.
And you're saying that's to come out of just the,
Beyond that 120 hours, is our statistics. That way it would cover, new staff that did not have, sick leave built up, 120 hours, which would be 3 weeks.
and where
For all quarantine time.
should that money come out of? I mean, if it's 120 hours per exposure, we've been running about 30 people a day off, probably 25 of those are with exposure. A large percentage, probably 90% of the people are off just because of exposure, so are we supposed to do we need to create some kind of line item in the budget? Because I'm just trying to figure out where we come up with this. Under the payroll.
no, it's already budgeted.
It's budgeted as payroll, but
You're right, you don't have to work for 3 weeks.
correct.
If you meet the criteria.
And I think we really need to think about how we're quarantining people, because just because we're government employees, I don't think we should be taking advantage of the system. I've got a lot to say on this. I put a lot of thought into it this weekend too. We're We are working for the taxpayers that are out here working in small businesses and for themselves, and they don't have unlimited sick time for exposures. There's people in law enforcement, and I love law enforcement, I've been there, but you have to draw the line somewhere, and we need to find out where our line's gonna be, because our amount of, in 2020, we're at 23,000 hours that we've paid people to be off for COVID. 23,000 hours. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of loss in productivity, so we need to have a standard guideline across the board. We are blessed as county employees to have sick time, vacation time, and holidays. We're blessed to have that job.
But what you can do is, you know, if you have sick time and vacation time, you use that first, and then you can apply to the Commissioner's Court past that.
But,
For COVID.
Is that for exposure and?
see, and we're gonna have to limit our exposure. I mean, our exposure is, because I've talked to Mark, and he is, some people they allow to try to quarantine at work, and some people have to go home. We're gonna have to have a better policy across the board where we're not treating people different. I think we're opening ourselves up anytime you treat your employees different. And I hate to say that, but if people work for the Commissioner's Court and we treat it one way and the county clerk does it another way, it causes animosity between the county employees that we're not doing this right across the board with everybody. I just think we need to be fair. But, you know, even the city of Wichita Falls, they're a bigger employer than we are. They have to utilize their sick time. When the CARES Act came off, there's no more free time to go home.
Well, that's one of the questions I asked when we started having this last week, and I began to talk to people around the community of what are people doing? I mean, what's the, I'm not, standard is not a good word, but what are other people doing? And I think Shepherd Air Force Base is on, you use sick time and vacation first. I think the hospital's on that program.
Right.
Currently, and I guess the city of Wichita Falls. And I'm not saying just because everybody's doing it, that's the right thing to do, but at least that is what's going on in the community. That's what people are doing.
And it doesn't appear, you know, that first 2 weeks in March is kind of drug on. I don't think COVID's going anywhere. We've got something here we're gonna have to deal with and we're gonna have to work with. And it's eventually, why have we as a society made COVID the big bad boogie bear when everybody else gets the flu? If Willie has the flu and I'm next to him, you're not gonna send me home for 2 weeks because I was exposed to him.
Yes, that's true. I think exposure is where our real,
we've created this.
Real danger is, I mean, as far as.
And I'm 100% behind our employees. And people might look bad at me saying all this, but employees don't get mad. I mean, they'll say, you know, dang, we lost that benefit, but for the most part, if employees have a set of rules to go by, they'll work with them. They'll be happy to have their job, but when you start changing the rules for different people, I think you've created a problem.
Well, Judge, let me ask you this. How flexible are we in setting this policy? I mean, we still have to go by some health standard, I would assume.
Well, that's what we have to look at,
Yeah.
There are plenty of them out there to pick from, but you could have a standard, you can go all the way from, you have to have a COVID diagnosis to, if we have a category of COVID sick leave. Okay? So you could have that. Then, how do you establish a standard that's workable on exposure?
And
those are all guidelines. They're not laws.
Well, I think the challenge there is the fact that we've got sick leave written into our system right now for when you're sick, but not necessarily when you're exposed. I don't know that being exposed is a legitimate reason to take a sick day under our current deal.
Well,
I mean, you're exposed.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, you're exposed to something all the time, every day, probably. But you don't take a sick day because you've been exposed to something. And I understand COVID's been a big deal and it's still bad. And how is the vaccination going to play into this? Is when it happens, hopefully in the next couple, 3 months. And
I'm fairly new here, but I have a question. This comes from one of my precinct guys. He said the old policy for the Wichita County sick was you get 3 days off. If you take 3 days off in a row, you gotta get a doctor's note to come back. Well, then they changed it to you're off 1 day, you gotta get a doctor's note, a COVID test to come back. I think that's causing more undue stress on our employees. They have to go to a doctor when they don't necessarily need to. Whether it's a COVID-related issue or not, they're being told they gotta have a doctor's note. That's why if you got different offices running their office different, it causes just a lot of turmoil. We still have, I mean, there's factories here in town that unless you're test positive for COVID, you can't even, you can't, that's the only way you're out of work. You gotta use your sick. I have a family member that no flu, no strep throat, no COVID, but couldn't get over a little cough and they wouldn't let him come to work. He had to use like 40 days of sick time. So it's, you can't, that's what I'm getting at. The federal government system, we have all these leaves, but then we have FMLA that employees can use if they go past that. So we're forgetting there is already some safeguards in the system to protect our employees. I just don't know at what point, do we pay them until April? And then at the end of April, we just shut it off? And then the first person that gets it in May, is he gonna sue us because we didn't give him the same benefit we did the people in April?
Well, he had the same benefit part of that.
Under FMLA though, Judge, just to make sure we're all on the same page, protects your health insurance and your job, basically.
Right.
No pay.
It does not protect wages.
I'm sorry, Mark, I couldn't hear you.
It does not protect wages. It just protects your job.
Right.
Well, but FMLA, 3 consecutive days absent or more, then you're supposed to file, after the third
Right.
day, file FMLA. You get up to 16 weeks a year of FMLA. So you could have 4 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and it makes sure that you keep your health insurance and your job.
But it's off without pay, basically.
Well, if you don't have vacation or
Yeah.
sick leave.
Oh, if you don't have.
It kicks
okay.
in, and
You wouldn't-
if I understand it right, the reason we want everybody to apply after 3 days is so that it's in place, so that when that benefit runs out, it automatically carries forward. Because we were having trouble, we'd run out of sick leave, and then there'd be a gap before we applied for it, and that just cleaned the deal up.
Yeah. But you get that,
You may not get the FMLA if you've got a bunch of sick leave, put up, but in
Right.
case you do,
Okay.
then you're
well, no,
in place.
anything after 3 days, you file FMLA.
Right.
And as long as you've got sick days or vacation to use, you'll get paid. If you're run out, and often, childbirth runs beyond.
Well, that's my point. You apply in 3 days, but it doesn't kick in 3 days. It kicks in at the end of.
No, it kicks in
Oh, it does.
immediately.
Well, I was mistaken on that.
Yeah. No, it kicks in immediately.
But you still use your sick days and vacation, and you get paid until the end of that, which is my point. I think we're talking about two different, the term kicked in probably doesn't, is where we're miscommunicating. This is a tough one, guys. This is the toughest deal.
Does anybody?
When you get to dealing with your employees and what you do for them, that's the toughest thing you'll ever talk about.
And
The big issue within the jail, is we do not want anyone coming in
No.
to the jail possibly exposed. That's gonna be some additional problems that we can face. So we have to think about how we deal with those employees.
There's not a silver bullet out there. There's no way that's gonna fix this. The part is, at what point do you reach the point to where you're gonna have to say, we can't do that? I mean,
Especially when you're sitting there, 12 short?
Double that.
Okay. That just makes it tougher.
If health district and CDC guidelines were supposed to be quarantined,
but those, once again, those are guidelines, and how do you, that's something we need to work on too, is our whole policy for quarantining, because it seems to be quite different. I sent home my whole precinct because they were exposed, but yet they've been riding to work together every day, by sending them home, that you're not changing their exposure. They could have been socially distanced at work just as easy as going home. That exposure had already occurred, and now we're going to separate them. It doesn't seem real logical.
Well,
So-
we've kind of overdone the exposure deal, in my opinion, because we don't have real good data showing us where the real danger threshold is.
That's
I mean,
because we
we're
can't
just-
see our enemy.
That's right.
And we
don't
can't
know.
tell
I agree.
who's,
Part of it is keeping it uniform. You can't have one policy, I don't believe, for jailers and another policy for everybody else. And so, in the interest of trying to cut down a rampant outbreak in jail, we've taken a very conservative approach to it.
But
Although
what
I would
happens?
argue that the situation is certainly different in the jail than it is in anything else. And I understand your point, Judge, that you try to treat them the same, but in this case, I'm not sure that's possible, because I think it's a different scenario.
Well, what happens when Patty or Lori have an employee that the spouse tests positive and they've just been exposed? Do we let that person come to work?
and there again, I know people that have had family members, their wife has had COVID, they haven't had COVID, and they slept in the same bed. You don't ever know who you get it from, so I don't,
We'll
Out
put
of-
that plexiglass down the middle.
out of my precinct,
And a man.
my oldest person, one of my people got it, and another person got it that never worked together. But the people that rode together every day, none of them contracted it.
Right.
So there's no,
Rhyme or reason?
I don't understand why you'd make a quarantine policy so broad that you're shutting down offices and it seems like you would you're gonna have to work through it at some point. We can work through it now, or we can work through it come June, but eventually, you're gonna have to work through it. It's a virus.
Gee,
I'd like to mention that quarantine policy. A lot of that quarantine does not come from us. It comes from the health department, and they do their.
And there again,
Decision tree who gets quarantined, and they make that phone call, says, you got to quarantine XXXX employees. There's no other choices but to quarantine them.
There have been times with some officers that we have worked with the health district to allow quarantine at work for employees that absolutely had to be at work that were just exposed. They weren't positive, but they had been exposed. And they allowed us to make them quarantine at work because they performed the necessary functions that could not be performed in other ways.
but they also work in very isolated conditions.
Yeah.
They were isolated in their offices with masks, with the whole protocol, as if they were positive.
When this first started, our first couple.
We did exceptions in the county clerk's office, we did exceptions in the auditor's office, and in the tax office. And each one of those were carefully discussed and dealt with, as to how we would handle each situation.
I mean, has it been determined that, we talked the scenario about the wife becoming positive, the husband not being positive, but is he still able to spread the virus?
Who knows?
My
Nobody knows.
understanding that non-symptomatic individuals have, I think it's only 25% is likely to spread the infection in those that are symptomatic.
Yeah.
I believe 25%.
And that's just pulling a number out, because nobody knows.
That's the data out there.
I mean,
We're a year into this, and we still don't know a whole lot.
correct. But we do know that it's cost us, in 2020, $400,000 to $500,000 in payroll.
Yeah.
Whether we were gonna pay them or not,
Yeah.
we have spent as taxpayers that much money.
Service. Yeah.
Mr. Hampton?
I don't know about that number, Commissioner. I'd have to get,
Well, 23,000 hours
I'd
is,
have to get the auditor to approve that. But once again, I understand all this conversation. Let me remind you, that that's the reason you have department heads. If you're concerned about people abusing the system, that's the reason you have a department head. They know that who abuses this thing. We're paid by the taxpayer to do a job. I brag on my two ladies. They've showed up every single day. And whether or not that door propped open or not means anything, we've abided by the rules. And I can't, but there are some other departments that have an ongoing public situation, tax being one of them, of course, sheriff's department, county judge, or county clerk, and probably the county judge too. But you know, we have an eclectic group that comes in and out of our doors. And if people get sick, a department head's responsibility is to look after his people. So that's where we are now. In putting all this in rules and regulations, my gosh, rely on your department heads for crying out loud. You know, it's just like somebody telling me that 10,000 votes showed up with just one person being voted on. Hey, you know, don't go down my leg and tell me it's raining. That's what I'm telling you. This is one of those common sense deals that I understand your concern, and I appreciate that concern. But we're all concerned.
Yeah, but Bob, you gotta
This
understand.
deal is like nothing else.
You gotta understand, it's some of the department heads that are asking the question. You know, what do we do? How do we do this? How do we handle it? So that's where,
Well,
that's where it came from.
I've got to tell you, Barry, I'm the same way. I'm
Yeah.
scratching my head, but there's no answer.
I
This
agree.
thing came out of nowhere. Well, it came from China. That's where it came from. But how we deal with it, we got the shots. You know, it's department head's responsibility to see that their people get shots. My two ladies have.
Where?
And
See, I
state
don't
hospital,
agree with that.
state hospital, well, you're not old enough, see, you gotta be like,
I got an underlying.
you gotta be like me. My doctor calls it, I now rate for a shot. How do I rate a shot? He said, well, you're old, Bob. Okay.
Well, we're not gonna be able to
I'm changing doctors.
mandate vaccinations, and there's a lot of people that aren't gonna do the vaccinations. So,
You know, here again, that's another decision.
But Bob, I think more so than the protocol involved is just how we pay going forward. Do we continue to pay everyone off work, or do we call on our,
Here again, I don't see how
bank
the
sick
communities
time?
could get involved in a department. I mean, you gotta have faith in your department heads. If somebody's abusing it, and that is abuse, to be calling in every other week and saying, I gotta take another 14 days off.
well, not just abuse, Bob, but it's unreimbursable expense, which up until the end of the year was a reimbursable expense to
I
us.
don't disagree with that, Commissioner. Here again, the department head, they know who's abusing, and they'll be addressed.
Well, this just in, I just got notice that the Wilbarger tax office has been completely closed, and they're referring their motor vehicle registration and title work to our office.
Which just puts,
Here we go. See?
puts Tommy in
Puts Tommy in another,
a great
Yeah.
quandary because he exposes his people even more than what they are exposed. I mean, with high traffic
kind of the
in and out of
retail
there,
part
and
of our
I mean, he just last Friday informed us of a situation that I know occurs and he probably don't even hear about, where people are coming in that have exposure issues or risk and are problems that they don't even inform a clerk of. And then there's no way he can dictate who's hot and who's not when they're coming into the jail.
Be
so.
sure to ask them if they've been exposed.
Yeah, really.
We do.
And how they get your shot.
Among other things, yeah.
Well,
It's a
I
problem,
want to
guys.
think the temperature does nothing to tell you if you got COVID or not, because I never ran the temperature at all.
right.
So, all the taking the temperature is still good stuff.
All that screen does is give an indication, you know, but half the people, it runs
If
half.
you have a fever, you obviously don't need to be instilled.
Yeah.
It's not silver bullet either. I don't know what the limit should be, other than what I proposed earlier. I do think we have staff that are at risk, outside of what a normal business would be. We have staff that absolutely have to be on site, as the jailers, et cetera, that perform the necessary functions to keep our business flowing. told by the CDC and our local health authority that we're under quarantine, these are the quarantine parameters. We work with our local health authority to identify what those parameters are and how we handle each case by case basis, and how we did when we start. Question is, how do we pay for those that are going to quarantine?
The one
And
thing I agree with
I
Mark.
agree, I mean, I think all of it has worked fine, and I agree with Bob that those department heads that want to make or need to make a call one way or the other, we would do it. We've been, we've really had the issue in our offices here that someone's been positive, that we haven't had much of the quarantine because of exposure problem, but there are those that are at high risk to infect a large number of employees. And if I was Patty and, you know, one of her ace people that are working with everyone in the office says, hey, my husband's, I'm Patty, I'm sending that person home because it scares me. And but I think the number or the bottom issue, the bottom line is here, how are we paying going forward in this regard? And the department head can work through, Mark's been able to work some open restrictions or move some quarantine requirements around that have qualified with the health department, and we're able to do that, and we see that that works and it's been okay. They didn't necessarily have to go home. And but I think the bottom line is how do we feel that this should be covered in the near future at some date that we pick, whether it's February 1st or March 1st or whatever it is. We need to draw that line and say, here's how we're going to start covering that time.
You know, we might look at, and this, I feel like I'm trying to cut the baby in half, is that we could, Commissioner Beecham suggests, I think, 120 hours of COVID sick time, is that correct?
I thought he,
Yeah, you could go for both, too.
Well, I thought you proposed that. What I was looking at is we normally give, you can earn 96 hours a year sick leave. If we did a number of hours that counted as COVID time, but during the time that if you used COVID and you're earning sick leave, then a portion of that would come back against that COVID balance that you used.
I think all of it would.
Okay, either, what I'm saying, if you took that, then you would have reduced that other impact. And so there'd be some buy-in by the employee. But if I were an employee that had started 2 weeks ago, and then I'm out for COVID, I wouldn't be out without pay. I could draw against that 80 or 120 hours. But then as I stayed in employment, I'm going to start paying that back. And whether that would be 8 hours a month or 4 hours a month, but we'd have something, you would have skin in that game to pay back, but up to some limits you wouldn't lose pay. But at some point, you know, I have to say there's, it bothers me about some of our employees, but some makes a difference for everybody. We wouldn't have all the laws we do if it wasn't for some. But there's got to be some personal responsibility when you're outside the job, that you don't go helter-skelter and do everything and go to someplace hanging all over people or get together with 80 family members. You know, that's just, if you're doing, you know, you've got to participate in your personal approach to life outside the workforce if we're going to cover you. So showing up on Facebook doesn't impress me when you're out on COVID leave.
Judge, one last thought, just like Patty said, how about the county getting shots for us, like we did our flu shot?
Well, I'd be glad to do that if you tell me where they are.
Yeah, I mean, that would, well, they're gonna tell the judge before they tell the treasurer, so,
Well,
I mean, I understand that.
we are supposed to get 1,900 shots, possibly this week,
Good.
For the
What's
county,
that
the entire
for
county.
the whole county.
For 130,000 people.
Yeah.
But
They're
didn't
not
they
issued-
do
They're not
900?
issued to the county judge to decide who gets
But didn't they do 900 this weekend, Judge?
2015 this weekend.
Well, I mean,
And that was purely because we requested that those not be transferred from the state hospital to somewhere else. That was a very fortuitous thing. And an
And by the way,
excellent
I had
program.
several reports, it worked very well,
Exceptionally well.
exceptionally
But
well.
the good thing was the state hospital had perfected that system by vaccinating their employees and their patients. And so we can take that model, the health department has worked up a model to be done over at Impact, because that's the largest area to be able to handle the cars. And it may be some sort of a drive-through, but I don't know the total details of it. But we are going to be allocated based on our percentage of population in the state of Texas. So if 1 million shots are sent by the federal government, then we are going to get 0.5% of those, based on our ratio of population to the total population of Texas.
Yeah, I'm on 2 lists and waiting for the call.
So
Don't know when it'll be. They won't.
and currently the health department, because they're looking at, probably today, purchasing this new software that will help line up and report the information. So when you go in and register it, it's gonna go ahead and get everything set up, so when you get your shot and they click shot, then the record's gonna move forward. It's gonna make it a faster process to go through. What I can't understand is that law enforcement was removed from the priority list. Because who has more contact, random contact with people than law enforcement and jailers? The other group that I brought up to them that left out was the people that run the shelters, Salvation Army, Faith Mission, Faith Refuge, and the nursing homes. That's important too. Problem is, there's just not enough vaccine being turned loose yet. And, but they did come up with this quasi-equitable, at least it was based on population ratio. That's the first time I've seen something other than just throwing darts at the board and saying which county goes where. Okay. We need to try to present some ideas to take action on. And the thing to think about, what we could adopt today, if we change from where we are right now, which is wide open. If we look at that and it doesn't work, we can go back and revise it. But
could we, if we were to consider using the sick time, could we shore the sick time at the end of, let's say that Lisa's got full board sick time, she has to quarantine for extended period of time, she burns all of that sick time. Then if Lisa had some issue that took her to doctor, took her to the hospital or whatever the case be, how could we shore that sick time even though we wanted them to do the smart thing and utilize the sick time and stay away from our employees, stay away from the general population of people? Could we shore up that sick time after the fact?
Or build an end to the fact I was saying, okay.
That's what your plan does, Judge, basically.
Yeah, but it also takes away, but we would never get anybody down below 2 weeks of accrued period.
And we get to the point where we'll buy it back basically with time. In other words, if you run your whole deal, if you utilize it. But it does put everybody in a position to where you're gonna be very conscious of that time. I think right now we're not. And, I don't know, I think some maybe modification of that plan might be the best idea.
So my Just
You're
make sure I'm
protecting your
understanding.
employee.
You're
Well,
still,
the judge's deal was, is you use, we had everybody 100 and however many hours of sick time. As you use that, then over the next period of year or 2 years, you've got to pay that back at some rate.
and that's maybe not quite, I was thinking that you'd have to use your own sick time, vacation time up front. If you end up going over that, then the county would, I thought that's what you were just saying, then the county
Yeah, we
would.
said that both ways talking, and what I was looking at, you know,
I think as long as you have that free time up front, then people are gonna be a lot more lax about it. But either way, no matter which way you go, you need to have a standard policy. This,
Well, I think if you're gonna do that, you gotta write something that'll fit the jail, and then you're gonna have to, because I think they have a very unique situation. And I think any policy you write is, for everybody else, gonna be hard for you guys to maneuver. I mean, you got, to me, that's the front line.
and they've got potentially 24 new people coming.
Yeah,
So if you.
which won't have
to go-
sick leave.
Yeah, we got like
First.
16 start day, they will have no sick leave, and they'll actually be in the jail next week, so.
If you're gonna make it the same, you gotta write it to their standards, I think, because that's
You had your first, you get, you know, 2 weeks of sick leave when you come on, that you can use for COVID. COVID on. Then you start gaining. Yes,
Now, is that COVID positive or COVID exposure?
yeah,
yes.
Because
Yes.
I mean, I think it needs to be COVID positive.
Well,
But
okay.
then you get into the thing with the health department, you know, if you're quarantined to be at home by the health department, you know, while the governor has issued that stay, it's still, you know, it still violates an order for you to be out if the health department says you have to be at home. So,
Well, but they, yeah.
Well, the one thing we don't wanna do is give an incentive for somebody to be here when they don't need to be here. That's the problem.
Well, we got two people talking at once.
I'm sorry.
In here, we've got to listen. When Mark talks, he can't hear you when he's talking. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I was saying that then you're kind of at the first with the health department as to how long you're actually gonna be out beyond the quarantine time, because you have to get a release letter. And their timing of release letters has been slow with that on a lot of cases.
They're only doing the release letters on COVID positive, right?
Yes, for right now.
So if I stay home because someone in my family have it, but I never become positive, then as soon as they've gone 3 days, I believe it is, without any symptoms, then I can go to work.
That wasn't the case a few weeks ago.
No.
But, yeah, how do
Maybe that's
you,
changed.
how do you govern that though? I'm,
the whole,
The whole
that's
thing's-
back to our whole, if we use our time, it's already built into the policy.
has anybody reached out to any of the other, like, commissioners' courts to see how they're doing? I mean, I know, you know, whenever we have new stuff, I reach out to other agencies all the time
I
and
just-
get input.
I talked to some, I just was at a commissioner school last week. I talked to several different ones, and most of them all are using their sick time, vacation time, period.
Yeah, that seems to be, they haven't come up with any silver bullet answer. On the judge's listserv, it's all over from that to extended, similar to what I just said. I didn't come up with that on my own. You're giving away, and it's the same thing with commissioner, you've got so many hours you can draw COVID. Now, the idea of the payback was kind of my feeling on how can we add some fiscal responsibility to this on the part of the employee. But what I don't want is employees that shouldn't be here, that have been exposed, come in, that will wreak havoc in the jail between inmates and personnel.
Yeah, it spreads very quickly.
Yeah,
The bottom line is, Judge, we're all exposed every day.
yeah.
Living your life.
We just are. And now, I understand there's a difference between just being exposed and having a real direct exposure, but still, we're all exposed every day. So, just, you leave your house, maybe you don't have to leave your house.
Okay. Here's the next question. Right now, we've still got everybody covered. I can take the ideas we had today and put something in
in writing and get that out to you all and to the department heads and elected officials and say, here's, right now, we're trying to push clouds, because we don't have anything down. And, to do that, and we would deal with this next week. The way I read what we've done up to this point, our personnel are covered under the old system. And so, I'll be glad that.
I believe you do need to get input from payroll, from Ms. Jones, and see how it affects where they would do this payroll.
I do have another question about this. I agree with you, Mark, on that. As far as the current policy, and I'm asking this as a new county employee also, if you're off sick right now, if you call in sick, do you have to have a doctor's note and a COVID test before you come back?
I didn't read that the same way. I know what you're saying, I know what it says, but my thing, it was if you were out because of COVID exposure or COVID, then was that silo. If I'm out because I've got
Upset stomach.
sinus or upset stomach, and I'm out less than 3 days, then I don't have to get anything done.
Okay. I'm just asking that question, but if you're off for 3 days or more, you have to have a doctor's note before you come back.
That's what it says right now.
And actually, the department head can require a note.
Yeah, day.
At any
day.
time.
And that's just a supervisory issue that,
Yes. I can require my employee, if I decide to have her or him bring a note in if they're out of that.
okay. And I could see that being, especially if you're having to monitor somebody that maybe has been close, you think maybe something's wrong with their sick time attendance. So,
Really, the only time we require, like on a day notice, is that person calls in 2 hours before shift on Friday night, says I'm sick. We might tell them, we need a note till you come back tomorrow, because.
Here's your policy.
He shores it up.
Just a second, Mark.
I'm
You
good.
hear me?
Okay, now go ahead.
Okay, this is a policy on sick employees that was adopted on 10/27. If an employee has any symptoms or illness and believes they are sick, he or she should not report to work and should contact their supervisor if there's employees who are symptomatic should immediately seek consultation with the medical professional. The employee is not to return to work until instructed to do so by a healthcare provider or cleared by the health department. The employees will be required to present a doctor's note to return to work after any unplanned illness, medical absence, regardless of reason. All employees returning to work with illness are quarantined by the health department, must provide a release letter stating that they are clear to return to work. That's no longer consistent with that. 6, employees who are quarantined for exposure or symptoms must submit for a COVID test and provide results prior to return to work. That is no longer consistent with the newer guidelines. And 7, employees returning from illness, maintain absence or quarantine as soon as possible, contact the Human Resources Office to complete a mandatory return to work questionnaire regarding that. That's what we approved for 10/27.
Well, that scenario really caused some problems because when my foreman was exposed, direct exposure, his wife, and he got ready to come back to work, he was delayed 3 days because he couldn't get the release letter from the health department, because I understand they're backed up, they're overwhelmed. I understand that, but that created that policy created a problem because we had people out longer than they should have been just because we couldn't get it done. And you can't go take the test till a certain day, and then it's 3 days before you get the results back, and that really messes that deal up. Made it very unworkable.
Yeah, this policy was taken from what the city of St. Paul had enacted and was working with the health district for best practices. So this pretty much mirrors what the city of St. Paul enacted.
And the judge, write us a proposal,
Okay.
would you?
And right now, the,
You need that in the motion?
But I'll work on that. Commissioner Beecham, would you look at that policy and look at, updates to these names to that, and we'll take care of both of those next week, hopefully.
Okay. And I'll visit also with Ms. Jones, get her,
All right, very good.
effective, I don't know, order.
that's a tough one.
All right. What else? We kick that can of wheel on
We can sit here and discuss this till the Cowboys playing the Super Bowl again, and maybe still not have a decision.
I don't know if I'll live that.
I don't either.
All right, we're down to the part of the agenda, any comments anyone in the audience have to bring up? All right. Mr. Beecham, anything to report?
No, sir.
Mr. Santana?
It was a long week in school. I didn't realize that county commissioner schools would be quite as involved as they were. I figured it would be a little bit more relaxing, so I was kind of surprised. They put on a good school. I learned quite a bit, and I'm not really looking forward to doing some more, but I have some in the future. So, and most of my guys are back at work today, so that's a good thing.
Mr. Hall?
Nothing in the interest of time, Judge.
All right. Mr. Watts?
I've got a question for Will right quick. Postage machine, Will, at your new offices, what are you doing?
Sent out a lot of letters. I don't know if I can pay the numbers, but actually, I've been doing it a couple of times. Otherwise, they're having, someone's coming out here every day to run our stuff through the postal machine. I don't know if we have 10, or we have 100, or we have 1,000 stuff to go out, but I know we have
Lot,
quite a
yeah.
bit.
How do we fix that, Judge?
The machine?
Is it, and who does he go through to do that?
Bob?
Bob?
Bob, okay. I know that question's come up a couple of times, so I get one. I just haven't made it to that point of addressing y'all, so Bob will take care of that, I guess. He said.
Yeah, get with him, they'll give us a proposal, and, then, we'll have to act on an agreement with Pitney Bowes.
Okay.
I wanted to let the commissioners know the brushes on the, our broom are back up to par and good, so, that's out there and available. We got that, accomplished in the shop last week, and I was glad about that. We've got electricity, overview coming from, our former, customer rep, Andrea, which has moved up the ladder, and she's bringing our new rep, Teresa, with her. I believe that's February the 1st, Nancy. We've set that up for. And then, Willie, if you'll give me some direction on this material as to what we should do, or how we reach out, or what we need to move forward on, and we can.
We need to be hauling rock, guys.
Yeah.
We really do. It's getting late January.
Yeah. So, but that's everything I have, Judge.
Okay. We are meeting this week on.
Tomorrow on Sunshine Hill.
Sunshine Solar. Hopefully tie down that off with them. And, we do have, I think Nortex meeting has been canceled for this month. They didn't have anything on the agenda. I'll take that time to work on that COVID sick leave policy. And, the VITA tax site, which is a United Way project, is going to open at the Armory Road location this Friday morning at 9. We do have a special meeting of the County Commissioners Court. Consider the recommended applicant for the HR director position at 1:30 this afternoon. So
Which is 45 minutes away.
Yeah. So, anything else? All right, it's 12:43.